13th, my life was shattered. My dad, my friend, passed away in a tragic accident. We were very close. He was a great example to me who taught so many values like hard work, commitment, and growth. My name is P. Clayton Wolf II. I'm 35 years old, but I go by Wolf. This tragic event was a wake-up call for me, a realization that life is so fragile. It made me introspective of my own life. How am I living? What opportunities am I missing? So from that day on, I decided to be real with myself, to seize any opportunity that comes across my path. So this new beginning prompted me to audition to become the next American Ninja Warrior. This is how I show my love. Oh, baby, my mind because I grew up in a small town in Oregon with parents, 4 sisters. I moved to Utah for school and ended up marrying a beautiful woman with 3 amazing daughters. So I became instant steppapa and absolutely love it. I love creating adventures with my family, everything from 4-wheeling, dancing, road tripping, and so much more. I absolutely love the lake. I'm also an entrepreneur. Basically, I get to boss myself around. My daily job is to buy ugly houses and make them pretty again. A ninja is a self-mastered in mind, body, and spirit. I focus daily on all 3. I always am learning to fill my mind with knowledge. I have a belief in God and meditate to connect within. And I never numb my spirit with drugs or alcohol. I keep my body healthy with exercise, diet, and rest. Since I can remember, I've always participated in sports or doing anything active. Wrestling put me through college, and I played 15 years of competitive football. So basically, my training is simple: live an active lifestyle. I train anywhere and everywhere. I love to pump iron. I love to hate cardio. Do plyo, work on flexibility, agility, and I'm always climbing, not just rocks. So no matter what I do, I push myself to the limits. And my favorite quotes from William Wallace is, "Every man dies, but not every man really lives." I will be the next American Ninja Warrior.
All right, that was awesome. Thanks for letting me show that.
Yeah.
So I actually, I'm going to introduce you a little bit with the bio that you gave me, but then I have some questions about that. And I also saw your Facebook post either from this morning or last night about you kind of doing a little bit of a Ninja Warrior there for how old you are. So I have some nutrition questions in a minute before we get started about real estate. And I know a couple people on the call, especially Joe, he's big into CrossFit and stuff like that. So this is going to benefit everybody. But let me start with kind of your bio here. That kind of explained it really well just with the video, but okay. And I got to get your name right. P. Clayton Wolf II, Clayton or Wolf. What do we call you?
Whatever you want. The Wolfie, Wolfman, Clay, Clayton.
All right. We're going to go with Wolf. I like Wolf. So right. Wolf grew up in Oregon from an early age, spending time at his father's bridge building company. Shortly after arriving in Utah in 2004, he bought his first home and walked on to UVU, then UVSC, first year having a wrestling team. Clayton continued investing in real estate through college, but had plenty of forays into the hustle of entrepreneurialism, investing in one time or another in oil well, trucking company, title company, nutritional supplement company, and many other startups. After graduating, he focused on real estate, eventually getting blindsided by the Great Recession. Losing everything, he and his business partner reviewed the hows and whys of what had happened. They learned the lessons and refocused again, finding a unique opportunity in the Midwest. Clayton began buying foreclosed properties in the Midwest for pennies on the dollar and has flipped over 1,000 properties and counting. He graduated from the University of Utah's Master of Real Estate Development program in 2017 and is currently transitioning to his lifelong dream business, Wolf Capital, which will focus on remodeling undervalued apartment complexes. Definitely a lot of people on the call that are interested in that. Clayton is a single dad to an amazing 12-year-old and 2 ex-step twin daughters. Clayton loves football, competed on American Ninja Warrior, and landed a backflip behind his wakeboard boat on the Utah Lake, January 25th, 2020. He prefers the summer, but is proud to be the first boat in the Utah Lake Winter Wakeboard Club. So, dude, that is awesome. And honestly, your video and your like passion for life is so cool. So, thanks again for being on, Wolf. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Okay, so let's start first. Like, live an active lifestyle is one thing, but to be able to do all those things that you were showing us in the American Ninja Warrior at age 35 and 40, like, what's your daily nutrition routine, and just, I mean, what's your daily exercise routine?
My nutrition is probably not the best example to follow, but just living a balanced diet is always good. People try all these weird fad diets and stuff.
Yeah.
The problem with diets is they're temporary, and a lot of times they're just a fad. So eating just eating good, healthy, whole foods, and just having a healthy relationship with food instead of making it this enemy and this thing. And just, it's all about input output.
Yeah.
You can eat 5,000 calories a day if you burn 6,000, but you have to burn 6,000.
Right.
So it's not people are always like, I can't eat, I'm starving. It's like, just go take a jog, then you can eat. So
yeah, right.
Which where the whole active lifestyle comes in. Like, I've got a giant TV in my basement. I haven't even looked at it in months because I choose to, I went to the gym yesterday morning, and then I went out with some friends. We did axe throwing, and then I took them to the ninja gym and we did a ninja workout. And so I had, I did 3 to 4 activities yesterday that were all very physical.
Right.
And so, I do my gym time every day. Plus, when I do my recreation time, it's not in front of a TV. It's out doing something. It's out wakeboarding. It's out hiking. It's at a ninja gym. It's something else. And so I'm always moving and trying new things and getting excited about new things. So
that's awesome. And sounds like that's always been how you've done it, right? Like you talked about in your video of playing football, wrestling. I mean, and obviously wakeboard a ton. It just sounds like you're just kind of wired to just be active, right? I mean, you're intentional about it now, but you kind of were born that way a little bit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, just my whole life has been super active. Love activities, love stuff with the body. And so I mean, that's a unique blessing, I guess, versus people who, struggle with that or don't have the motivation. But I do know that the more you do, the more things become habit and become normal. Like when I don't go to the gym for a while, my body hurts and aches and it craves going back to the gym. But that took a year or 2 to build up to where my body needed the workout versus when people just start going, they're like, oh, it hurts so bad for the first few months, and they like demotivate themselves. And it's true. If I take a few months off and go back, I feel the same sickness. And I'm like, oh, I hate the gym, but I know I have to push it for 30 to 60 days because then your body gets used to it. And then if you miss it, you feel crappy. And
so funny you say that. I mean, I mentioned Joe a couple of times. He's joining us, I think, for the first time, but he and I were talking on a call a couple of weeks ago, just specifically about CrossFit, right? Because I do CrossFit, Joe does CrossFit. And, it kicks your trash kind of every day, right? But I found the same. It's harder not to go than it is to go, because your body just gets used to it. So I'm sure some of these same habits are going to, they're habits in different ways, but they're going to probably be a theme throughout this call today about just your investing career, right? Like, just like you're active in your lifestyle, you got to be active in your pursuit of what you're doing with your real estate. So, okay, where I want to kind of start is maybe first fill in any gaps that we may have missed up till now that might be important in, kind of, where you came from and now how you're here as far as background or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Both of those were pretty good explanatory. I don't think I could have done it myself if you asked me to talk about it.
Yeah. So, hey, real quick though, what was your experience at Ninja Warrior? Did you go back twice or did you just do it once? Or, I mean, that's super impressive to even get on the show.
Yeah. So that was my video. I tried first time 2015 and I made it. So everybody runs, they do it through the night. So from about 9 PM to 6 AM, they run everybody through 100 people. And I ran, mine was like at 3 PM or 3 AM I ran. And you don't get to try the course. You try it once. You got cameras all over, people screaming, lights, and then they go, you, number 42, stand up there. And then they're like, go, filming. And you're running this course, like just blowing through as fast as you can, trying to feel your way through. So it's intense. Like you just black out and you're just like,
yeah.
At some point, you know, you miss something and you hit the water. And I was, you know, I had worked out really hard. So I was blazing through it. And I actually threw myself off the course and hit the pavement. And they came running up and they're all around me like, are you okay? And I got up and I was actually just mad because I thought,
yeah, you were pissed
up and I'm done. Like I failed. So I stormed off and they're like chasing me with the cameras and stuff. And I was like, whatever. And all of a sudden they grabbed me. They're like, no, you're in the winner's circle because you made it so far in the fastest time that if that holds, you'll still be top 30. You get to move to the next night. So I ended up holding that and got to move the next night. And the next night I passed that. I went softer, past that point, got farther again, and then made top 15 that next night. And then I made it to which pushed me into the Vegas finals, which was a couple months later. So it was a great experience though. I mean, everybody on like the crew and the producers and all the other ninjas, like it was really, it's a very unique sport because everybody's competitive, but they're kind of, it's each person against the course, not against each other. And so everybody's talking about it, helping each other out and cheering for each other. And where like football, you're actually like ramming each other and like trying to take each other down. It's a very like family oriented like sport. So it was a lot of fun. And it takes in a ton of different like strength, agility, conditioning, arm strength, back strength, balance, so many different factors that, I mean, there was like an NFL guy, he did terrible.
Yeah.
Even though he's like an elite, absolute elite, it didn't transverse to this kind of thing. So you really have to do a lot of stuff and be agile in a lot of different ways to compete there.
Dude, it's impressive. I can't imagine your upper body strength to do some of that stuff. I mean, you know, but anyway, that's way cool. So is there a master's division for ninja? I mean, are you going to try that again or was that one attempt's enough or two attempts enough?
So the show has about 100,000 applications a year and they only call 600. So you have a 1 in 2,000 chance of getting a call to come on the show. So like I did that video that you saw and they liked something about it. So they called me up and had me in. Like it was complete chance.
It was the sit-ups underneath the bridge. That's what got it.
Big sit-ups. So yeah, and at this point, once you've been on it, unless you're kind of one of their staples, they generally don't call you back. But there's a whole league now. It's created a whole sport. Where I was at last night, Ninja Playground in Lehigh. If you guys got kids, it's amazing. It's so much fun for the whole family. It's an incredible workout plus a good time. And but there's a sport now. So now there's leagues. You go to competition. Like in a couple weeks, there's Ninja Worlds that, you know, all year there's been comps that you kind of build up to go to that. Last year I went to Ninja Worlds and it was fun. And, you know, some of the best guys in the nation to do it and they all come together.
Dude, that's awesome.
So there's a whole, you know, like the Spartan circuit or whatever else. There's a circuit of ninja sport now because only a very select few are going to be on the show, but everybody wants to do it. So,
yeah, everyone can do it.
Yeah. So
dude, that is so cool, man. Props to you. That's amazing. So, all right, let's get into real estate. So, I've gotten to know you obviously a little bit. It was many years ago that I think I helped you fund a flip kind of in South Salt Lake. And then I know we talked a little bit about, you know, that my experience doing the MRED and then you did the MRED, you know, which we just overlapped. I think like I finished and you probably started. So that's one thing we got in common. Then recently, thankfully, you know, we reconnected on some loans and we'll talk about these in more detail, but you know, so you've been up in Alaska investing, and then we're going to talk about your stuff in the Midwest. And I know you're doing stuff here locally, but where, you know, everyone on the call, I know a lot of people on the call have done a lot of deals. Some are just still kind of trying to get through their first couple. So what got you into it? And what were kind of your first maybe successes and failures early on when you were coming out of college and getting into real estate?
I grew up doing construction with my dad since I was like 8. So I was driving backhoes, building bridges, concrete work, road work, stuff like that. And so I was handy at that age. Later on in life, we built our house at age 11. So I was luckily familiar with kind of the construction side growing up. And then when I came to college, for one semester, I paid rent and realized, dude, this is a waste. And so me and my buddy, we were 23 or something. We said, dude, let's buy a house and rent it out to other students. So back in the day, stated income loans. I was an unemployed freshman in college, and I applied for a
So
loan in
it's like 2005,
2004.
2004. Okay.
It was $125,000 3-bed house over by UVU, just a few blocks away, and which is crazy to look at market. I would rebuy that house for 120. In fact, I think I sold it a couple years later for like 140.
Oh,
and
really?
I thought like I was the man. And now I'm like, freak, I wish I still had that house for 140.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we bought that house, stated income, not employed. I did some of the work on it to fix it up. Me and my buddy lived there. We rented out to students, so it paid our mortgage. So then I lived rent free all through college because of that. But it also gave me the ability to learn real estate without a high risk, because I lived in the house. I didn't have to pay a property manager. I did the maintenance. And so I was able to learn a lot of the stuff of like real estate, repairs, management, taxes, insurance, all that stuff without like a big learning curve as far as that went. Then I bought the one next door. The old lady was going to sell, so I bought that, put like 10 guys in that because they had an apartment in the basement. So there was like 15 people in this corner by UVU. It was kind of a frat corner back in the college days. And then from there, I thought, man, this is amazing. This is easy. I was studying business, so I started, picking up some business ideas and things from my courses. And so then I started branching out. I heard about short sales. So I went up in Salt Lake, got the list, started knocking doors, and found a guy that wanted to sell me his house on a short sale. So I went through that process of like negotiating with the bank.
So the other stumbling block for a lot of people getting started, so you're not even out of college yet, and you bought what, 3 houses or 2.5? I mean,
yeah.
So how did you finance? Well, obviously the first one you got a loan, stated income loan, right? Was that the same game on the next couple? Because you don't have like a high paying job at this point, right? Like how are you shoestringing the finances on these at a young age?
Yeah, definitely a different market back then, unfortunately. You could do the liar loan, and I did them. I mean, my job, I was a freshman in college. I was probably making like $12 an hour part-time. So, I mean, my W-2 would have been like poverty level, 20 grand a year. And so it wouldn't have qualified for anything. But stated, I was like, oh, well, but we'll bring in this rent. We'll do this and we'll offset that. And, always made it work. So the first 2 were stated income, general mortgages. The third one, I did bring in my first kind of like hard money partner.
Cool.
So he brought in, I've met a guy, he had some cash. I said, I got this deal. I got the short sale. I got it for a good price. And it actually had a big backyard. It was on a corner lot, and it had a cutout in the sidewalk to the backyard. And I thought, that's weird, but that's a big lot, which means that's actually a driveway entry. So I looked at the zoning. I was like 24 and thought, I wonder if I could cut that in half and put, that's another lot. And so I did the subdivision process through Salt Lake City. And so not only was it a short sale that I got as a good deal because it was distressed, I also figured a way to add some value and subdivide the backyard off because it was over a third acre. So it was going to be, a little bit less than a quarter acres, 2 quarter acres once it's done. And then I went through the whole subdivision process with the city of Salt Lake, which was a whole new experience and kind of crazy and funny with all the neighbors that came out and like with pitchforks for one tiny lot split. And they came out like with fury, like at me.
And you're like, wait, is this what's supposed to happen? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And the things that was said, if anybody's trying to do land development or subdivision, it is insane how sensitive the neighbors are. So you need to make sure you are ready to not combat that. I would get ahead of it. Talk to the neighbors, tell them what you're doing, tell them how it's going to value. I mean, I had people they were like, the kids playing music in the park. They were just complaining their events to the city. Like, my fence got kicked over, and some old lady, she was like 90. She's like, the whores and the drugs everywhere. And I'm like, what does this have to do with me subdividing one lot into 2 lots? Like anything.
Yeah.
But the city had to listen to it. They had to hear, these completely had concerns with nothing with the project of the property. They had to hear them. And the final play, then they were like, well, what do you think, developer? And I'm like, I got nothing, man. I have no idea what's going on here. Like, this is, I have no idea. Like, this is insane. But they were like, well, it sounds like it's dark on that side street. What if we added a street light? Would that make you guys feel better? Because maybe that would be more safety. And they're like, oh, okay. So I guess the city added a street light, and then they approved my project. So it was like this weird thing. But
But your point there is super good, and that's a tip for everybody listening that's working in land. You're going to have neighbor opposition, even if it's an as of right in the zoning code. Like, this is what you can do. These are your rights. You're going to have opposition just because people have opinions. Some people don't have anything better to do. They just want to go hear themselves talk, complain with the planning commission. So get out ahead of it. I think that's great advice.
It's amazing how powerful the mob is as well. Like, I don't know if you guys know about the Cottonwood Mall.
Yeah.
Woodbury spent $1 million on plans and site plans to creating this entire new development. The mob came out, shut it down. They lost $1 million in planning just to bring their project to the table, and the city shut it down because 100% of the neighbors were like, "Brr." And so it's like, man, it's amazing. So get out in front of it. If you got a project that has people around it, talk to them, get their opinion, find out stuff, tell them how it's going to benefit them.
Yeah.
Because if they come out and support, the city will be like, done. Dude, if they come out and fight it, they will literally say no. And you've just spent $50,000 on engineering, architecture, all these plannings, and you may have to bail out of the deal.
Yeah. So. I'm going to get engagement as we go along here. So as I ask questions, I'll maybe just jump in and ask the question so Ben Lakey has a question, I guess maybe a comment. Should have spent that $1 million paying off the neighbors, right? Yeah, of course.
Hey, I don't know where the legality is, but I'm all about buying people movie tickets and Outback dinner tickets and be like, hey, I appreciate you being a good neighbor and giving gifts, because all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, this developer cares about us. I don't know where the reality lies, but small gestures go a long way.
They do. It doesn't need to be something huge, right? So, Ben, not government officials, just neighbors. All right, you do the government officials under the table. That's good advice there. So one thing that I'm sensing is some of your success initially, and probably where the ball got going is one, you're very personable, you're a quick learner, you're not afraid to jump in when you don't know exactly what you're doing and figure it out. Right. I'm sure we'll talk about some stories here where you majorly screwed up because you jumped in and didn't know what you're doing. Right. But I think that also benefits you. It seems like you're a high volume, high activity person where I'm guessing over the years, something gets lost in the cracks. So be thinking about maybe some of those too, where maybe you were moving a little too quick or didn't plan well enough. And then looking back, obviously you probably learned from it. And you're all about taking action. So this is, man, I know a lot of people on this call maybe struggle with something here or there, and there's no substitute for just kind of diving in and taking action, even if you screw up along the way. So, okay. So you did some first little deals, maybe transition, what got you to thinking that maybe what you were doing wasn't, well, go up to the crash, because I'm sure there's some lessons there learned. So where were you at when kind of things unraveled, bankruptcy or whatever, let's go to some of the negative for a minute and see what lessons were learned.
All right. So bought that first house, bought that second house, started buying more deals all the way through college. Then started getting into just investing anyway. If anybody remembers the 04 to 08 market, there was all sorts of deals. Everybody's making money. So the problem is every deal that I did made money. And I thought as a 25-year-old, woo, I'm the shiz.
Yeah.
But I buy it. There was appreciation. I sold it. I made money. And I thought I'm the man. The problem with that mentality is that's retarded. That's not real. And so I was investing heavily in extremely high risk things. I invested in a gold mine, an oil mine, a diamond mine. I invest in Cache City, all these high risk, high yield businesses. And I was a paper guy, meaning I signed a contract, sent them $100,000 and thought I'm going to make my millions on this. But all I had was a little piece of paper that said, oh, we're going to give you a piece of ownership of this company that I had never seen. I didn't even know if it existed. It could have been, it might've been fraudulent. But I was young and excited and willing to dump roll the dice on the risk and just go 100%. So I kept doing deals all the way through 2007. And all the way up to the point in 2007, I graduated college in 2007 in April. And things were paying back. I was receiving high dividends from these investments. And I was on cloud nine, thought I was the man. I was 27. I bought like a 10,000 square foot house in Provo called the Palace that I was going to fix up. It was kind of a wild house. I was single and, just kind of crazy there too, but, just living the high life. And then, taking bigger and bigger risk for that age. So on a personal level.
And those, sorry, not to cut you off, but sounds like you got out of real estate a little bit, stayed in real estate. You were doing other investments that you were trusting someone else. You didn't really maybe know that business super well, but you're also still playing the real estate game, right?
Correct. I still had houses. I bought some lots in Saratoga. I was kind of like that you said, I would look in real estate. There's tons of different avenues, rentals, flips, high luxury, foreclosures, land, short sales, wholesale, seller financing. There's so many different things that you can do. So I was still a little bit unskilled. And so I was just like, I was reading these books and like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And I would just go out and do a deal like that just to do it, just to find out. So I had nothing that was the same. Everything was different. I did a short sale. I bought a land deal. I was going to do a build on a house, like all these different ones just to learn it. Now that's cool because I learned some of those things. The problem is when you do that, you're not a specialized person and you're not expertise. And those are extremely valuable. And if anything changes, any mistakes happen, unless you get lucky, you end up losing money and it becomes a costly education. So I was doing real estate. Plus I got into all these investment, these high risk businesses, thought I was amazing because they were doing great and paying off, to the point where I talked my dad into investing $500,000 of his retirement into one of the deals that I got into in 2007. It was supposed to be a quick deal. Well, about 6 months later, we know what happened 2008. I basically lost everything. In fact, I lost my dad's $500K, which is still 10 years later. Never do something that never put an amount of money or take somebody amount of money that you would feel bad if you couldn't pay it off and it was lost.
Say that one more time. That is so important.
Never do a deal or take or invest amount of money that you can't handle losing, or that you can't pay off.
And I would say the same thing. If you're in the position where you can do the money, like provide the money, I would also say don't lend or loan money unless it's secured, like in, a very quality position. If you're not okay, not seeing that money come back, right? Like,
Correct.
Don't spend your lunch money. So, okay,
Correct.
Cool. Wow. Yeah. That's sobering. I mean, we've all of us that were back then, one way or another, kind of went through something similar. So you kind of were saying, and then personally, I kind of cut you off where you're talking about these deals and then you're living the high life, things are kind of crashing. You're the man, but then personally too, you're saying that when I cut you off.
Yeah. So then, 2008 happened. The first deal went down where they're like, oh my gosh, this thing went sour. Like the stock market crashed. I invested in a couple IPOs at that time as well. And my stocks jumped into six figures. And once again, I'm a stock trader now. And I was doing some day trading, like anything. I was like, dude, this is great. Everything's making money. Within 6 months, that dropped down to like 30 grand. I lost $100,000 in 6 months in my stock account by doing nothing but sitting. And everything was just bleeding dry. Every week, and one of the deals I did would call me and basically say, we're either bankrupt or the SEC just raided our office and we are shut down. And now we're in receivership and it's not paying anymore. And who knows if you get your money back. Yeah. So out of, I don't know, at the time I was super high risk. So if I didn't have the money, I'd go pull $100,000 line of credit at a bank and reinvest that into one of these deals. So I had like tens of thousands of dollars of interest payments on all this debt that I had nothing for myself. I was living very poor, very small. Everything I pushed in because I was young and I wanted to go big. And so I had millions of dollars of like credit lines in investments that were high risk, high yield. And over that 2008 period, every week, another deal would say, I'm done, I'm out, we're failed, we're bankrupt, SEC, whatever else. Some wild stories. I mean, one guy that, his house was raided by the FBI. He's got 5 kids. It was like 7 a.m. He's taken out in handcuffs. They take all of his computers. His wife and kids are in the house, crying. And all because he was just trying to do an investment deal. And he raised a couple $1 million and it went sour and he didn't have the right SEC paperwork. And so now he's, sitting in in jail at that time and going through that experience. And his life was altered forever. You know, he ended up not going to jail, but being on like 15 years of financial probation where he can't do anything in the financial world. Wow. And he wasn't doing anything fraudulent, you know, or wasn't trying to screw anybody. He was doing a deal. He had some PPMs he even paid for. Attorney wrote him up like he wanted to add real value, but it wasn't his business, and he didn't have everything right, and the money was lost, and he couldn't pay it back, and he ended up, you know, going to jail and having his life altered because of that as well. So real estate, there's a ton of opportunity in investing, but there's also a right way to do things. Like Matt lends hard money. He knows the market of hard money. He gets the right paperwork with the right property, with the right lender, and things go smooth. And in a worst case scenario, he knows the process to legally get his money back and become whole. And if the deal that your friend brought to you doesn't cover all those boxes, don't do it, or don't lend money. If somebody's like, hey, I'll throw you a promissory note here. It's one page, just sign it and send me your $50K and I'll give you 30% a year on your money. It's like, yeah, it sounds great, but you won't see it back again with one flimsy piece of paper. Make sure everything's right. And that'll take some time to learn. And you can ask Matt. He knows how to structure things like that. So, well,
it kind of like, you know, kind of these old, like, I don't know what to call them, like the old grandma sayings, right? Like they really are true when you start seeing things not go to plan, right? Like, you know, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, you know. It's like, where are you going to get a 30% return by just signing some promissory note and sending some guy 40 grand, right? Like, it's not going to happen, you know. I mean, it may happen once, but then all of a sudden you're looped into some Ponzi scheme and then the game's over. Okay, so 2007, 2008, you know, you're getting just sucker punched, whether, you know, it's the market or a little bit self-inflicted because they maybe weren't the best investment. So how did that settle out? How did you get out of that? And then what was your steps to kind of like get your momentum in a positive way, going back to actually doing deals that make sense and that were sound?
Phenomenal questions, actually. So 2008 was my dark year. It was a year of complete loss. Scramble every month, every week, a new call basically saying, you're effed, your money's gone, blah. It then became a call where I could not keep up with my payments because all that income was now gone. Mm-hmm. So then the collection calls started coming in to the tune of 50 to 100 calls a day of unmarked numbers to my cell phone every single day, 7 days a week. It was an emotionally dark year. My ego and confidence was attached to my business. At 26, I'm rolling dirty, got a big house. Clayton's the guy, he's the man. And all of a sudden I have nothing. And it was just this loss. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea, like, market cycles. I was at a complete loss, and I kept just scrambling and like praying, like, no, it's supposed to bounce back, right? It'll come back, in this weird disbelief. And it literally sucked a piece of my soul that I've never been able to get back out. And it ended about starting 2009. And I realized that for me, that kind of bottomed off. Everything was lost at that point. And so I said, with my determination, I'm going to work this back. I had, like I said, 15, 20 grand of payments at 28 years old of all interest, no principal, just straight payments I owed. And I said, I'm going to go back to work and pay this stuff down. So I got my mortgage license job, and we're doing 6 12-hour days doing mortgages because rates were low for the entire year of 2009. And so with all those calls, 100 a day coming into my cell phone. So the losses were at the bottom. I had nothing. I went from my 10,000 square foot house to my buddy's couch and had zero credit. My credit score dropped from 800 to 450.
Yeah.
And I was grinding it out like 12-hour days. I was the only one in the office all through the night every night because I stayed later. And I was selling loans and I was working hard and all this stuff. And I did that for a year. So I gave a year of my life to paying back the loans. And at the end of the year, I looked back and I hadn't paid down any principal on all that debt, not a penny. In fact, I had a mortgage as a negative AM. So I actually owed more at the end of the year. And I said, I got how many years of my life. I literally just gave a year of my life to nothing but work and went backwards. And I said, I can't do this. Like, this is not done it. So that at that point, after 2 years of losses and then trying to work and grind my way back that way, 2 years of nonstop calls from collection agencies, I finally had a buddy that was like, dude, you've got to pull the plug and call a bankruptcy lawyer. So it was like the hardest decision of my life, because I went through business school. I actually mocked people who went bankrupt because I'm like, don't spend so much, idiot. And I felt like this weird, like, attachment to it that, like, no, that's not me. It would never be me. And I had to humble myself and say, there's no way out of this. Like, I've literally given a year of my life and it did not improve the situation. And so I called an attorney and we did it. And the day he filed, my calls went silent because the letters went out to everybody. And it was one of the most peaceful days of my life when I knew that, like, I just had this silence peace. And so I spent the next few months in silence and sitting, trying to figure out and analyzing the last couple of years. And so I spent a lot of time. So 2010 was kind of like this, like, what the freak did I do? And actually at that time, I still had a little bit of victim mentality where I said, why did this happen to me? I read all these books. I reinvested those, and I was doing this stuff, and I was doing things out of the box and all this stuff of these things that I'd read. And I said, why did it happen to me? And I took a personal vendetta to it, and I was angry, and I had lost, my dad's money, and I lost my money, and I'd lost everything I had. And at 18, to jump back, I actually set a goal because I'd already worked like 10 years with my dad at that point. And I said, I want to be a millionaire by 30. Yeah. Well, my 30th birthday, my bankruptcy discharged 8 days after my 30th birthday.
Oh man.
So it was a weird irony that, like, my goal, everything I'd worked for to be a millionaire by 30, I was bankrupt at 30. And so incredibly humbling experience, but it took me actually about 5 years after that to fully realize the value of what I went through and those losses. Because if that would not have happened, I was becoming more and more reckless and more egotistical with the profits. Meaning, when I do a deal and it paid money, yeah, I'm the man. No, it was lucky. I had no control over the investment.
Right.
I bought a house and resold the house due to appreciation. I've made profits. I'm the man. No, I got lucky in a lucky market and a lucky buyer. And so it made me really realize that there's market cycles. There's so many factors that go into a deal, and I needed to be the expert on this. Whatever I did, stay focused on one, become the expert, become the specialist, and know everything there is to know, and then write a deal for the worst case scenario. When I bought my first house with my buddy in college, we used to joke and say, well, if this doesn't work out, we can just go work at McDonald's, and just go bankrupt. And we used to joke about that. And then I went through that process and almost went back and worked for McDonald's. And it was the darkest part of my life. And I'm like, I really wish I wouldn't have had the worst case scenario. So if your worst case scenario is like, oh, I'm going to go bankrupt and work at McDonald's, don't do the deal. Right. So one quote, Clayton Wolf quote that I live by now is, I rather have no deal than bad deal.
No deal than bad deal.
And because I bought deals in 2006 and 7 that, people like right now, dude, it's a feeding frenzy for deals. And I get deals fed to my email from these wholesalers. I'll say, you know what, it's tight. I'll run the numbers real quick. It looks tight, but I'll give you your wholesale price. Boom. Within 5 minutes, I'll say, I'll take it for that price. They say, sorry, it's going to highest and best tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm out. I'm not even going to go high and best. I'm not going to do that, because if somebody's already willing to pay more than that, I ran my numbers. It was tight as it was.
Right.
And going higher means it's getting tighter. I don't want that deal bad enough. I rather sit in my backyard, enjoy the lake, and have no money coming in than having a deal that is creating stress in my life and creating losses.
Yeah.
And so, you're always excited to buy a deal, but once you buy it, the work starts and the problems start.
Yeah.
And so everybody, and you always, like, in the MRAD program, the owner of Ivory Homes said a quote. He said, a pro forma has never lost money. Meaning, oh, I underwrote this deal. I ran my numbers. It looks good. Well, they always look good. You would never do a deal if you said, I ran my numbers and they were negative. But yet, how do 10 to 20% of real estate deals lose money if every 100% of pro formas made money? So your pro forma or your underwrite you need to do that to make sure, but there's no guarantee. So underwriting conservatively, and if it doesn't look good, if you don't feel good about it, then don't do it, because it's
and it sounds like, I mean, man, what you're saying, I'm actually kind of getting chills, because it just reminds me of the same mental and emotional state I was in as well. You rocked it a little harder, for sure. I was at a stage where I had 3 kids, a new house, 3 new cars. And man, I just remember feeling that same, like, I am worthless. What have I done? I've lost all this money. I've gone backwards. I have to start over now. I went and interviewed at a loan servicing company to get like a W-2 job. And I just felt ashamed, like, in the interview. I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to go. Right. And so then for me to click, kind of like what with you, is like, then I started saying, what's my worst case scenario? And my worst case scenario then was like, I'm not going to die. Someone's not going to come chop my head off. I'm not going to have to, like, whatever, get physically harmed. And then it was like, all right, game on. I've lost everything, but we're starting over. So one thing that I circled before, and then I think you're alluding to it now, and I kind of want to maybe fast forward a little bit, but bro, your story was so money specialized, right? Is that kind of what got you out of this rut? Like, I mean, if you're going to be doing 1,000 homes in the Midwest, let's fast forward to that a little bit. What ultimately got you to, like, specialize and focus and just drill down? Because I'm guessing what you ended up doing was just rinse and repeat on stuff that was predictable.
Yeah. So 04 to 08 was just, like I said, trying something new. I was all doing this all over the place. 2010, look back. All right, where did I mess up? Analyze my issues. And with this story, now that it's 10 years later, one of the greatest values in my life is that failure story. So Will Smith says, like, fail often, fail big, and something else. Anyway, but he's just like, but fail smart. Like, you need to fail to learn those lessons. So if any of you guys listening are like, ooh, I don't want to do that because I don't want to fail, you have to fail. Yeah. You have to lose. You don't grow unless you do. Failure is part of success. There's been no successful millionaire in the entire world in existence that have not failed at least one or multiple times. In fact, if you researched all the millionaires in the United States, incredibly high percentage have all been bankrupt at least once. And that's because they try, they work, and they fail. But from those failures is where lessons are learned. So do not hear the story and say, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do that. You have to fail, but don't let that failure take you down. Make sure you learn from those lessons. So 2010 was that year where I really analyzed, and what the freak did I do? So house in Provo, $750,000, 28 years old, $5,000 mortgage, couldn't sell it, and the market got crazy. And I said, that was a poor choice. Didn't have the money to pay for it myself. $300,000 rehab I didn't have money for. And it was just too much house. That very few buyers can buy that house. So I connected with a guy in 2010 that was buying penny on the dollar foreclosures throughout the Midwest. And I said, that's it. I want to work for you. So I went in and I said, dude, I'm going to be your acquisition manager. And he said, sweet. So he set me up, said, I want to open up Indianapolis. And I was living here in Utah. And I was like, done. And so we were buying properties at $5,000 to $10,000 a door, just tiny, beat to heck bank foreclosures in crappy areas of these cities. A lesson there, though, is he paid me on like a salary commission basis to work for him. So I became an employee again in 2010. But what that gave me is he had the money, or the business had the money, to buy lots of volume. So over a year and a half, I was able to buy, rehab, and flip 150 properties for him on his dime. Now, he was just starting out as well. This was a new market, and we created and built this system. We bought these houses. We bought them and flipped them on people's credit card. We bought them for $5,000, sold them to some guy for $10,000 on his credit card. Then we said, well, we're leaving people undone. What if we rehab them? So then we started hiring contractors. Then we said, well, what if we started leasing them? So then we started hiring property managers. Each step of the way, there's a learning curve for every one of those. So over that year, the decisions I made him, out of those 150 properties, probably $2 million. But I also had a number of deals that went sour because we were learning, and they were in the sum of $100,000 of losses in a year that he took the hit. I made him a lot more money that I lost, but I learned the lesson on his bill. And I was lucky to be put in that place. And I look back, and I've still resorted back to that idea many times of anytime I want to start a new business or do something, the idea is, do I want to go and work for somebody for 2-3 years to learn the business? So then when I go out, I have all the experience in the specialty, and all I'm doing is improving on a small part of that to go bigger and better by myself. If you do it yourself and you haven't been in the business, like, oh, I'm going to start doing foreclosures, you're going to learn some valuable, expensive lessons.
Yep.
So I say there's 3 educations out there. One is collegiate. If you go, you get a business degree, get your degree. A lot of people go to college to get degrees. You learn some great stuff, no experience. The other one is just kind of through books and other things, like your own viewing and observing, and through books, your own education, your personal education. The third one I call the degree of hard knocks, which is just doing it and failing and saying, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something new. That succeeded. Sweet. And doing that over and over to the point to where you've like really just been punched a bunch of times, but now you are like, I know how to do this piece of the business because I've learned through trial and error, through hard knocks, how to do it. And I found that you really need at least 2 of those educations to truly be successful. Mm-hmm. And they all, like, I did get my MRED, which is a Master's of Real Estate Development, but I was already doing real estate, so I had to, but that made me much better investor, knowing numbers, knowing how to run spreadsheets, knowing what contracts were. Like, it taught me a lot of fundamental things that helped, but I had already lost everything I had in real estate. I had already built up a bunch of stuff. So it added value. So the more education you can get and the more experience you can get together will improve your success.
So, and Ben, I'm going to get to your question. Ben just asked a good question in the chat, but doesn't that kind of go back to the theme that we started with about 45 minutes ago about your daily exercise or living? Like, if you're not also continually learning, even though you'd already gone to school, like you said, you already know a little bit about pro formas and how to do a 10-year discounted cash flow. You already know about how to analyze a property, right? But like, for me, I had the same experience, right? Doing the MRED, it just kind of continued to give me some momentum and some reps and some practice. And just like with exercise, right? You just got to keep doing it. You got to keep moving in the right direction. And so there's so much value there. So Ben Lakey has, how do you manage emotional frustration now in the school of hard knocks? That is, you've kind of answered it, but that's the question for today and for the next couple of years, I think, is how are we going to manage our emotions and the frustration when the school of hard knocks comes a knocking?
Expectations. Now, very little ever gets me emotional. I know that the worst case scenario will happen most of the time and many times. So my objective is to make sure to take the steps prior to make sure the worst case doesn't happen. And when things happen, roll with it. Like, things will always happen, whatever the law is. If chaos is and will happen, it does and will. And it's out of your control. Yeah. And so you just have to allow it and then say, okay, cool. That's a problem. How do we create a solution? When you're just solution minded, problems are just a hurdle. They don't stop you. They don't change your life. Money can be lost and created. So when you have this expectation that, like, I'm going to buy this house, I'm so excited, and I got these new barn doors, and I want to get this pretty vanity, and that's what you're thinking about, but then the money gets short, or this and that other stuff happens. If you know that the plumbing will probably be bad when I go into this house, and it's going to cost me $3,000 that's not on my budget. And if you already think that and go into it and you're like, yep, sweet, I knew it. Like, you just set the proper expectations to yourself that things will go wrong. When they do, you will hit the solution, figure it out, and move past it. And it kind of takes the emotional part out of it. Because there's not one thing I've learned, and as I've looked at, like, analyze people who are millionaires, is they're no smarter than me. They're no smarter than any of you guys. Their ability to deal with chaos and heartbreak and crap is so much higher. So I look at some of my buddies who, like, do little deals or have a small business, And the smallest thing that like, oh, this guy quit and I can't handle because I had to go to work, and they can't handle the emotionalness of one like employee quitting. They've never grown in 15 years.
Yeah.
Millionaires are like, I just got sued for $500,000 last week. I just sent it to my lawyer. I said, dude, take care of it. I got emails to answer. And they're like, it doesn't bother them. And so the difference, like I found, is just their ability to like take emotional hardship, figure a solution, kick it out and move forward, then dwell and get caught up in that feeling of it.
It's already bad enough. So why compound it by worrying about it? And especially control what you control expectations, dude. I love it. I love it. So, man, we could go on for hours. We got about 9 minutes left, and I love this, and I love the energy. I'm feeling it, and I know everyone on the call is too. So where are you at now? And then I also want to hear, you know, since we're kind of wrapping up, like, where are you going, right? So, like, give us a quick breakdown now. I mean, I know just from our interactions this last couple months, you're flipping a duplex in Nome, Alaska, and I would like challenge you. I mean, I told you flat out, I'm like, Clayton, I don't actually want to help you with this, you know? Like,
I will pay for your earnest money if you back out of this deal. Is what you
yeah,
told
I did. I told you that. I'm
Yeah.
like, can you just not do this? I'll just cover your earnest money. So anyway, so you're flipping in Nome, Alaska, but kind of following you on, you know, stalking you on Facebook, but you're doing that and you're having fun, right? You're salmon fishing. You got a buddy up there. So it's relationships. You've got someone on the ground. I know you're doing a small development in Roy. What kind of other things are you specializing in now and having success with?
So the last 10 years, I started that for that company, worked for a year and a half, did about 100 deals. And then after 100 deals with that company, without the risk, I said, I'm going to go move out to Indy and do my own thing. So I moved out there for 3 years. I drove every street in Indianapolis. I met a ton of people, built relationships, and continued doing a ton of deals. And then have done that still. I still have properties in Indianapolis today.
Oh, cool.
And so, but through some of the relationships and the businesses and stuff I had, I was able to do 100 deals a year. Now that sounds amazing. Like, oh, you must have made millions. No, these were $50,000 houses. They're slim margins. It was high volume, low margins, but it gave me the experience that I needed. And so the lessons and after I did those 100 deals and went out on my own, I still, every 10 deals I estimate, I take a loss.
Dude, it's so funny. That's what I tell everybody as well. I can tell you how many deals I've done, and it's about 10%. Because once you're doing volume, you're going to lose. You're going to lose every once in a while.
Correct. So at my height, I was rehabbing about 20 houses a month. Well, to do that, you cannot manage that much detail. Thus, detail falls through the cracks. And when detail falls through the cracks, you lose money. So yeah, at that point, I found that doing that many a month, I actually would make more money doing 10 and being focused than 20 and losing on 4 of them. And so volume, unless you have a good system, doesn't always equal. But the experience is the key, man. Like diving into something and saying, I'm going to do this one niche, and then figuring a way that you can do it over and over and over and over and over and over just to gain. And I learned lessons for years. Now there's very few. After 1,000, when you hit 1,000, you can kind of be like, man, I've seen it all. Mm-hmm. And then opportunities came your way. A guy out there in Indy hired me for the last 2 years to run his whole business. I helped him grow from 40 to 400. I was on a great salary, but I was working 60, 70 hours a week from home for him. And it was grinding my soul because I love to do myself. But I ran his business like it was my own. So every penny I held tight like it was my own. So he benefited greatly from my entrepreneur idea. So I quit February from him, and I said, I want to pursue my dream of doing family development value add. In February 15th, I quit. Started a website, created a business plan, flew out to a couple properties. I hired an underwriter. We were scrubbing deals all over the Southwest and Midwest, these looking at these deals all over, these multifamily deals. And then March 15th happened, and all my equity and debt providers froze. So my business was shut down because if you have no money, you can't buy anything. So I quit my job, $6 salary job at age 30, or age 40, all right, I'm on my next venture. And within 30 days, I'm shut down again. And the COVID happened. So, but I was like, you know what? F it. I'm going to work in my yard for a month. See what this thing takes out. Like to get pent up about it and worried about it, like doesn't solve anything. So I was like, whatever, we'll see what it is. In fact, I've been like praying. I'm like, yes, COVID happened. That means people are going to foreclose. The market's going to drop. Things are going to soften, because the biggest pain in my business and every other flipper's business that I know is lack of inventory, and lack of inventory that has any spread for the last few years. And the reasons are because of the good market. So most of the guys I know that flip houses have actually made less money this year and last year because they can't find deals. Where 2010, there were so many foreclosures, we would offer 50% of list price and get it accepted immediately. But we had so many properties, we had nobody buying on the back end. So we couldn't sell them. Plus it was hard to find hard money lenders because they were all scared still. And so the issue was plenty of inventory, but no exits, no money. Now I have 1,000 exits. I have millions of dollars I can borrow from people, yet there's no money there's no properties to buy. So there's always that pain. So I've been like, yes, COVID, knock this thing out, get some foreclosures, get this thing, like this market to tame down a little bit for a year. And so I'm hoping for 2008. I'm like praying for 2008, because I'm like, it took me out of and buried me. And I'm ready to crawl out and take advantage. Because if I knew what I knew now in 2007 and I had $1 million, game over.
Oh yeah.
So I'm waiting for that. So
that.
So this last few months, I took some time, and it's powerful. So I take a month or so off, and I spend time reading books, listening to audio books, and going and visiting all my mentors. I've met some powerful people. Some owners of some major development companies in the area I met through the program and stuff, that I go, and they give me an hour of their time. And I ask them, what would you do if you were in my position? I'm 40, I'm looking to do business. Give me all your inspiration. And there's incredible value with somebody who's been there, and to listen to them and to learn from those tidbits. And then you be quiet. Like I've been meditating, reading books, and really trying to like analyze the market. I drive around, I look at the market to say, what in my heart, where do I want to be in 10 years? How do I get there? What's going to align me with that? And then take some time away from the emails and the chaos. Because if you're in emails and chaos, you will never be able to like fully like be inspired to know where you can and where you want to go. So you have to just settle, let yourself like your mind roll, and it will be a powerful month if you can do that and just say, where do I want to go? How am I going to feel when I get there? What's truly going to make me happy? Everybody's like, I want to be a millionaire, or somebody's like, I want to be a 10 millionaire. But what does that actually mean? Yeah. Some people want to hit $1 billion. I don't want to hit $1 billion. I know what that would take, and I don't want to give my soul away. But you know, I have an amount that like that would make me at peace with myself. And other people would be like, that's not enough for me. And other people would be like, I could never make that much. So it's individual. And then find a business or an avenue that you can build for the next few years to get you to that point. So that's actually where I'm at right now, because I want to restart what I started in February. But the great thing is it's given me a few more months to like think about it, to plan, to get structured up. I'm working on my LLC structure, been talking to money guys, and I'm kind of going forth like with this expectation that, okay, I see two things happening. The market's going to say, what COVID? I'm still going to go along because things are strong, rates are low, and I'm good. Or the second is we've got an entire nation of people who ain't paying their mortgages. They're getting unemployment, which is false money. They're getting PPP loans and SBA loan bailouts. So they've got this flush amount of chunk of cash, and they haven't paid rent because there's been moratoriums on rent and mortgage payments. And so here, when those all go off, that's when we're going to see the impact of this virus. And it could go, and we could have this huge burst of foreclosures, which if it happens, those who are preparing, who have cash, who have access to cash, and who are waiting for that, all of a sudden these deals, you will feel these deals flood the market. You will feel prices start to go down. Days on market will extend. And if you're ready for that and excited for it, then the media will be like, oh my gosh, the COVID crash is killing us all. But those who are prepared are like, yay, the COVID crash is creating capital and money for me. So, but if it doesn't, continue business and let the appreciation and the demand that we have right now continue. So I see both avenues as a win-win for me.
I love it. Well, we're wrapping up our time here, and I've been inspired for sure. And I can just tell from kind of watching people's face reactions on the call that they have as well. So I know we'll continue this offline in different deals. I hope to get to continue to know you better. I'm going to text you a couple of people. So is it okay? I put your phone number on here. If anybody wants to wrap with you offline, check it out. Your number's on here and your email. I know there are different people on the call that are getting heavy into multifamily as well. So like Joe, I think you should connect with Clayton, and then anyone else, you know, especially about high volume flipping. I know you're giving back too. So anyway, but hopefully we'll see you on the lake. I mean, I know that's where your head is, like, you know, like do what, you know, work hard, have fun, do those things that make you happy. Life is short. Don't ruin your soul for the end game that you may not even want that anyway. Right. So, man, I made a ton of notes. So thanks so much for coming on, Wolf. And I look forward to talking with you more and picking up some salmon and visiting that place in Nome, Alaska one day.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate everybody for being on the call. Very humbling to have people hear my story, and hopefully I said something that can pick your brain. And I'm open. I work all the time, but I'm in my home office, and call me, text me, email me. And I love giving advice because it makes you feel good, whatever. So I don't know everything though. I'm not overly successful. I mean, Matt's doing way more than what I am, but I've been through a lot though. I've been probably through more people. One of these days I'll make it rich. I'll go big, but that's where my goals are at. So
you already have, man. And everyone's really appreciated. So anyway, have a great day, everyone. Go crush it. And thanks again, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Kill it today, everybody.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye.